So in the previous lecture video of this topic, we looked into the output part, or more elaborately speaking, we saw how to calculate total product, marginal product, and average product, and their corresponding theories. And in this lecture, we are going to see the costs that the firm incurs when it produces more output. So let's begin with short-run costs first. We already know to produce more output in the short run, a firm must employ more labor, which means this will increase its costs. We describe the relationship between output and costs by using three concepts, which is total cost, marginal cost, and average cost. Let's begin with total cost first. So total cost, in short TC, is the cost of all the factors of production a firm uses. We can divide total cost into two categories, total fixed cost and total variable cost, where simply put, total fixed cost, in short TFC, is the cost of the firm's fixed inputs, for example, say machines and etc., and total variable cost, in short TVC, is the cost of the firm's variable inputs, where labor is a perfect example of a variable input. And so, total cost can be found by adding the total fixed cost and the total variable cost of the firm. And as you can see on the graph, in the short run, the total fixed cost is constant and the variable cost is rising as the firm increases output. So, we can say in the short run, as the total variable cost rises, so does the total cost, whereas the total fixed cost remains constant. Next we have marginal cost. Well, marginal cost represents a change in the total cost resulting from just one unit increased in output. And the formula, as you can see, provided on the slide, which is simply the change in total cost divided by the change in the quantity or output. Finally, we have average cost, where very simply, average cost is the cost per unit of output and can be distinguished in three categories. Number one, average fixed cost, in short AFC, which is basically the total fixed cost per unit of output. Then we have average variable cost, in short AVC, that is the total variable cost per unit of output. And then we have average total cost, ATC, which is the total cost per unit of output. And as you can see, the formula is laid out for you on the slide, which is simply TC or TFC or TVC divided by the quantity. So when you divide them by the quantity, you should get the averages, which basically is the normal and a common way to find any averages, and I'm sure you all are familiar with this. I understand an example will be a great help for you, so I have an example ready for you for all these three types of costs. So here is an example of all the types of costs we have discussed about. And also the answers are given for you. So all you need to do now is plug in the values in the formula that you have just seen and find out if your answers matches with these in the slides. This can be a quick practice for you, and so you may want to pause this video now and give it a quick try. So, if you've worked out the example, and if we're asked to plot your findings, you should get a graph something like this, where you can see the average total cost or the ATC curve has a U shape. And this can be explained with two reasons. Firstly, we know as the output increases in a firm, the firm spreads its fixed costs over a larger output and therefore its average fixed cost decreases. So, as you can see on the graph, its average fixed cost curve is falling as output is increasing. And the second reason the ATC curve is U-shaped is because of diminishing returns. This means that as output increases, then more and more larger amounts of labor are needed to produce an additional input of output. So this increases the average variable costs and eventually average total cost also rises. Further to that, you can see a similar case with the MC curve. Here also in the beginning, the marginal cost falls. However, as output increases, each additional labor produces now less and less output, as well explained by the law of diminishing returns, as you can see on this slide. Now, let's combine the cost and the product curves that you saw in the last lecture video together. You know that technology determines firms' costs. This shows the links between the firm's technology constraint, that is a product curve, and the cost curve. So basically, the figure highlights the links between technology and costs. As labor increases initially, marginal product and average product, as you can see, rise, and the marginal cost and the variable cost falls. Then, at the point of maximum marginal product, the marginal cost is at a minimum. And as you know, as labor increases further, marginal product diminishes, and thus the marginal cost increases. Next, let's understand how the cost curves may shift. As you can see, two reasons have been highlighted, where technology is one of the reasons. So, as you know, a technological change increases productivity, and this shifts the total product curve upward. It also shifts the marginal product curve and the average product curve upward too, since with better technology, the same inputs can produce more output. And so, technological change lowers cost, and this also shifts the cost curves downward. Similarly, an increase in prices of factors increases costs and shifts the cost curves. But note this, the way the cost curve shift depends on the type of factor prices that are changing. For example, say a change in rent or other fixed cost shifts the fixed cost curves and the total cost curve upward, but leaves the variable cost curve and the marginal cost curve unchanged. Whereas a change in the wages or some other type of variable cost shifts the variable curves with the total cost curve and the marginal cost curve upward. And this time it leaves the fixed cost curves unchanged. You are now done seeing the short run costs. In the next lecture video, we shall see the long run costs.